Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I am excited to have my next guest. I met Daniel through a mutual connection. And when we talked, it was like talking to an old friend. So I'm really excited to have him here with me today. And before we get into a lot of conversation of the things that we had in common and all about what unicorns are about, I want to give him the opportunity to introduce himself. So, welcome, Daniel. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Lachelle. And how about yourself?
I am well. I can't complain.
Awesome. Good deal. Yeah, so my name is Daniel Knight, and I am the Chief Executive Unicorn. That is what we use in place of officer or all sorts of different things. We like to use unicorn as many times as we can. So, Chief Executive Unicorn of Unicorn Universe. And I'm passionate about making connections between people. So, the fact that Lachelle and I connected between a mutual connection, and she's been just an amazing connector ever since, has been amazing. So it's perfect.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that. And, I meet a lot of people, and one of the things that stands out about our conversation, we had so much in common, but, I had like some things going on in the background. It was the day that I had to record for a new project. So I was doing this green screen and trying to get it all together. So that day was such a breath of fresh air for me because I was doing something that I wasn't familiar with, but then I had this time that I could pause and really connect with a new connection. So, talk to us about unicorns because, I hear about this a lot with my kids. It's like the next craze, it was mermaids, now it's unicorns. So, explain to everybody a little bit about what that means.
Okay, so thank you. Yeah, a unicorn for us is not so much when you talk about a unicorn in business. A lot of the time, people think of $1 billion company, but that's
Mhm.
not what we're really talking about. We actually have a fully defined unicorn DNA, is what we call it,
Mhm.
which is really just the type of person that we define as a unicorn. There's
Mhm.
a lot to it. I don't even know how many points there are, but ultimately, it's somebody that is a good person, that is collaborative, who wants to work together with each other to elevate each other's businesses, their personal life, create more joy for each other, and just make this world a better place through abundance and reciprocity and just helping each other out.
I love that because, I love that you said it's a number of elements because a lot of people think they can just meet somebody, size them up really quickly, and this is somebody that they can collaborate with or have an event with. So, talk to us a little bit about this DNA. What are some things? Because, you have a lot of business owners, especially now, where they have to lean on other businesses to help them with the times that we're in because of this pandemic. So, what are some things about that DNA that we should be looking for when it comes to collaboration?
So, yeah, so there are a handful to it, and I'll just kind of focus on the ones that we've focused on recently and are coming up. But one of it is being abundant. Unicorns are people that have an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset.
Mhm.
There's so much abundance of literally anything that you need in this world that there's no point in being scarce about things, you know?
Mhm.
And that kind of comes into the whole philosophy of giving. And when you give and give and give and give, eventually it'll come back to you and in ways that you may never expect. So that's kind of a lot about the abundance part. The reciprocal aspect of this is actually very important because of how our unicorn universe economy works. And that's basically just that when something happens and there's a success in the company and it generates revenue, maybe it's between two companies or it's simply just a referral to another company. The reciprocal nature of that business is to give back to where the business came from. And usually that's
Mhm.
from us, but that goes another couple, that goes deeper than that with the person who sent us the business. And ultimately, kind of a big part of why we wanted to create this company was to give people who are, very passionate about making connections and setting things up and putting people together like yourself, Lachelle, a way to actually get paid for it, and we're not aggressive with it, but we like to establish relationships with other companies that agree to pay us if we make a referral. Then if somebody sends us a referral, we send a referral to that company. They pay us and we pay who sent us the referral. So it's just this reciprocal system of abundance where everybody's getting paid for life. As long as we're generating revenue, whoever sent us the business is generating revenue. So that's kind of a huge part of it, right?
Mhm.
Um,
I
yeah.
love that. And, I love how you mentioned abundance mindset because a lot of people have no problem dreaming, chasing squirrels, or the new next best thing. So, talk to us about, the difference between the scarcity and abundant mindset, because I think we hear that term a lot. But for somebody who is thinking, I want to get in on this, I want to be able to share my network with you or whatever, what are some of the things that they had to overcome or things that you would say to them to kind of warm them up to this type of mindset?
I would say collaboration over competition. And I'm sure that's striking a nerve with you, Lachelle, and part of why we hit things off so much. And
Mhm.
because really, there are two there okay, there are many different ways you can go about business and relationships in business. And when it comes to abundance, we understand that you are much stronger when you work together and you
Mhm.
collaborate versus compete to achieve a common interest or a mutual
Mhm.
goal or mutually benefit each other through consistent deal flow, through cross promoting each other on social media, through adding value to your own existing clients or network, right?
Mhm.
Because what happens, and I love this, when I meet somebody that a lot of the time, because I run into people that are like, oh, yeah, I'm building a community too, or oh, that sounds kind of like what I'm doing. I'm like, fantastic. You and I
Mhm.
should go at this together and collaborate because when two people come together that are super connectors, that have the best interest of their clients at
Mhm.
heart, and they collaborate and their two networks become each other's networks, like that
Mhm.
just creates so much more opportunity in the world.
Mhm.
There's something like there are over 200 million businesses in the world. Okay. And
Mhm.
for anybody to think that they're going to get all of it or lose something by not collaborating is just silly. So the abundance mindset is just that. When you work
Mhm.
together, you can accomplish much more. And that ties into social impact causes, that ties into,
Mhm.
generating more revenue for your business. So many different ways that you can accomplish your goals by collaborating versus competing, right?
I love that. And we did hit it off with that because I was like, that's a hashtag that I use all the time because I think that is so important. I grew up as an only child and I was very academically driven and I was all about the competing. It was about being the best grade or whatever. And so I have learned so much more since I've learned how to collaborate, because it definitely makes the work so much easier, you know? And you have the ability to be a lot more calmer. I know when I was trying to do it all myself, I'd be stressed out. Every little thing, we as before we hit record, technology wasn't our friend. And so we just weren't able to connect on the Zoom. And it's like, oh, technology happens. Before I would have been like, oh my gosh, it's past 7. Did he not know or whatever, be stressed out. But yeah,
Right.
so I love that. Now, so what are some things that you do in your daily routine that kind of helps you with this abundance mindset? Because I think, we talk about it a lot, but a lot of people still have problems really embracing it and walking in it, or, just it's like it goes back and forth. Some things they're abundant mindset on, some they get scarce. So how do you keep it all together?
Well, I mean, to say keep it all together, that might be a bit of a stretch, um, but it's interesting. So, a couple things that I have learned in developing this mindset, because I won't say that it was a natural thing. It definitely did not come inherent for me and
Mhm.
my history. I've gone to zero and had to start from nothing. And so I grew up with kind of a scarcity mindset.
Mhm.
I had, 6 siblings and we weren't quite, rolling in it. So,
Mhm.
um, I would eat the last piece of lasagna. I would,
Mm.
because I would think, what if I didn't have food on the table? I,
Mhm.
for whatever reason, I should eat that because that might just keep me going for an extra hour. Who knows if you're on an island, right? But
Mhm.
anyway, that kind of mindset and thinking that way and recognizing when you are and flipping it to, an abundance mindset. It's a lot. It's not as
Mhm.
easy as it might sound, but giving that last piece of lasagna to somebody else because there will be more.
Mm.
Or just kind of recognizing when you're thinking in a scarcity type of way, is very important to developing more of an abundance mindset. And a lot of people will think abundance in terms of money, but there's so many other ways that you can live abundantly through, providing connections that, oh, maybe that helps somebody who might be competitive in some way. Just do it, like
Mhm.
make these connections, provide value on your social media if you're, active on there or not. It's a great way to get active is providing value. But don't be worried about people taking. Like that's to
Mhm.
me, like part of the biggest part of it is, when you start worrying that you're going to lose because you're providing value or making connections or letting somebody into your network, like that's a scarcity kind of mindset.
Mm.
And that is what will happen because you're not giving, you're not providing more, you're not
Mhm.
doing so much that is helpful to people that it's going to end up happening, right? You'll end up finding
Mhm.
that you're competing with everybody and everybody's competing with you because you're not collaborating with anybody.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. And so one of the things that kind of comes to mind for me that I would always do is when I would go to Dunkin' Donuts, because that was like something that's a treat for me, that or Starbucks or something. But usually it was Dunkin' Donuts that's really close by, and one of my kids used to work there. But every time I would go there, I would always pay for the person's food behind me. And so, thinking about what are some things that you would like to happen to you and doing that for somebody else. It doesn't have to be anything big. You could pay for somebody's gas, randomly. A lot of these things, it doesn't take a lot, but just doing something, and you can put a dollar amount on it. Start out with $5. What is
Yeah,
something that you could do for $5? Get a gift card, give it to your kid's teacher, anonymously or something, or give it to the principal of the school. There's so many different small things that you could do that could really brighten somebody's day.
100%. Can I give a
Mhm.
shout out to someone on this on here?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's somebody you introduced me to who
Mhm.
clearly understands the value of what you're saying. And I
Mhm.
I shouted her out on social media, but Gail Beckham, I hope I said her last name right.
Yes.
Um, she like I was blown away by her just generosity and kind heart and just, you know, I got this package on my doorstep from Gail and I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, she asked for my address over social media, and I almost actually messaged you to be like, "Is this safe? Like, can I actually send it out?" But I was like, "I don't need to do that." Like, Lachelle introduced me. This is the value of warm introductions. Really,
Mhm.
Lachelle introduced me to somebody, and she was asking for my address. I had no idea why. I had no idea what was to come from that.
Mhm.
I just sent her my address. All right.
Mhm.
So um, then the day of our meeting, I'm like rushing out the door and there's this package. And I'm like, oh, what could this be? Because
Mhm.
nowadays, when you're getting a package and when within the 5 hour window,
Right.
right? But here it is, this little box. And I'm like, okay. And I almost was like, I'll look at it when I get back, but I didn't. And
Mhm.
I'm glad I didn't. And then I noticed it was from Gail and I opened it up. And there were these 2 chocolate brownies in there with the card
Mhm.
from Gail that was like, hey, I'm really excited to meet with you and like get to know you. And I felt so bad. I was going to an event so I was like, this is amazing. Gotta go. I'm gonna thank her like graciously in our call later today, and I'm headed back from this event. And of course, and so I Ubered to this event. So my Uber driver canceled on me twice and then picked me up, and this guy took multiple wrong turns.
Oh
And I'm like,
no.
I've got a meeting with Gail, like right now. I'm like, and he's all going the wrong direction. I'm like, oh, I'm like, I can't miss this. I'm like, I need to meet with Gail.
Mhm.
And this just shows, like, because she sent me the package, and I was like, I cannot reschedule this. So I emailed her. I'm like, please wait for me. Usually I would say, hey, I'm sorry, can we reschedule, or let's reschedule,
Mhm.
or whatever. But I'm like, no, please wait for me. I'm like, even if I get 5 minutes on the call with her, if she has to go or whatever, like I needed to make that happen. Anybody
Mhm.
else wasn't going to happen. And now we connected. We ended up spending a good amount of time on the phone or on Zoom, and my I had got home and my dog needed to be let out, and I'm like late and I'm like rushing, so I like went outside for the Zoom call, and he's barking the whole time. He's not usually much of a barker, but she's just peacefully dealing with it, and I'm like, man, she's so awesome. So
Yeah.
anyway, I
I
go into
love
all of
that.
this. Yeah, I mean, this just goes to show like the impact that being
Mhm.
giving and thinking abundantly can have. I mean,
Mhm.
she doesn't know what could have come from that conversation. I think there are plenty of opportunities. This ties in well with, our whole golden connection and strategic alliance uh, topic in a way, or
Mhm.
thing that we do at Unicorn, is just that I think there are so many opportunities, and I'll do anything I can to make it happen because it's just so meaningful to me. I don't get that from
Mhm.
anybody else.
Yeah.
Nobody, you know how many meetings I've been on in the past year? It's probably, and I mean, I don't even know, hundreds though.
That's how many in a day really is the thing. That's the indicator right there. I totally agree.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. And that
Mhm.
was, you know, easily one of the most meaningful and definitely
Mhm.
more memorable experiences I've had. Nobody has ever done that.
I love
Nobody.
that. I love that. And that is just so true about staying top of mind,
Hmm.
about taking that little extra effort and look at the impact. I mean, I'm not sure when that meeting was, but you're still talking about it. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's just really impactful. And I mean, that is just the little things that we could do. That just definitely reminds me that, thinking about someone above and beyond. So she actually knew you guys were going to meet and took the time to send you something before that call. That's amazing.
I know. We hadn't even met before that call. I was like, "What? Like, how
Yeah.
cool."
Mhm.
I
That
loved
is
it.
awesome. Yeah.
Easily an abundant thinker. She understands the
Mhm.
value of giving, and
Mhm.
just it was all just so awesome.
Yeah. So I love that. And so, and I love the whole thing about the abundance. I was listening to Jim Rohn. I listened to him, a lot of his YouTube recordings, and he gave us this story about tipping a waitress or a waiter. And so he said he learned later on in life what a tip really was about. He said most of the time you go to the restaurant and you wait to see how well the person takes care of you before you determine what you're going to tip them. But he said
Mhm,
he learned from his coach when he got into business that a tip was to ensure that you would have good service. So
mhm,
the mindset is to tip the person before they even wait on you. So you can be sure that, hey, they've got their money. So I shouldn't have to want for anything. If I need anything, they're going to be well attentive to me before I even place an order or anything like that. So, we're back to this whole thing of abundance. It's the same money usually, but it makes a difference if you are paying it up front. If
mhm.
you are showing value, it's kind of like the same thing when we talk about with business, lead with value, right? Because everything else is going to take care of itself.
100%.
Hmm. So talk to us about, what are some things that you do just for your own personal mindset? Any famous or popular books that you like, podcasts? What are some of the things that you really indulge yourself in order to maintain this positivity?
Oh boy. Okay, so this is okay. So there are a few books that have
Mhm.
really helped me with this. Um, One is The Go Giver. Have you read this book?
Oh, yeah. Now, I haven't read it, but I was in a project with Bob Berg, and he's
Okay.
been on my show before. But yeah, so I haven't read it, but yes, I've heard great things about it.
So that's easily one of my favorite books I've ever read. And I did
Mm.
a little experiment on my social media with it. After I read it,
Mhm.
it gives you these 5 laws to stratospheric success.
Mhm.
And don't ask me to name them all. I think I
Not
can.
a pop quiz, not a pop quiz.
But anyway, so what I did, so I read the book and I was like, this is amazing. Now implement, right?
Mhm.
So many people consume without implementing. I can
Right.
tell you the gold is in implementation. So what I did was that each day of that week, I focused all of my social media posts and energy on each of the different laws of stratospheric
Oh.
success. Now
Mhm.
I feel inclined to try. The first one was actually value, which is
Okay.
interesting because we've been
Okay.
talking about that.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I posted the whole day was about value and I just
Mhm.
gave. I just gave. I'm like, how can I provide as much value as humanly possible to the people in my network? And that's what I did. And then throughout the course of the rest of the week, I focused each day on each different law. And at the end of the week was where my mindset like totally shifted. One of the laws was authenticity.
Mhm.
Um, and so that like really drove it home for me just to focus that much more on being authentic. It sounds silly, right? How hard can that
Mhm.
really be? Just let it all go, just be yourself. Like, I can't even tell you how many things I have posted that if I was worried about what other people would think about me, I wouldn't have posted it. But that being one of the laws, and then driving it home for a full day, it actually made a pretty big impact. And so that was easily one of my favorites. And it really drove the idea of abundance and value and giving, which giving and thinking abundantly go hand in hand.
Mhm.
Really drove that home. So definitely huge shout out to Bob Berg. Um, that guy is amazing. I've
He's
chatted with him
awesome.
on LinkedIn and stuff like that. He's great. So
Yeah, he's awesome.
yeah, and then I wrapped it all up, and I actually plan on, you know, talking about this again over the next week as I focus on unicorns being honest and ethical with genuinely good intentions. That's one of the unicorn
Mm.
DNA strands. And what we have planned for next week, by the time this comes out, that'll be in the past. Um, so, so yeah.
But never in the past, because those are good principles. I
Well,
love
right,
that. That's what we're talking
right.
about.
I
So
just
I
mean
love
like
that.
the focus of the week is all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
one of the things too that I would say is I love how you talk about the implementation
Mm,
because, I love books and I collect them more than shoes or purses that most people do. Right. And so the key to the growth, and it is, as we're recording this, self development month or self improvement month for the month of September. And it's all about implementing. You can
yeah,
get all this information, but if you're not going to put it in action, you're not going to be any different. You just have more words in your head or whatever. It's not that experience or that growth from actually taking the leap and trying some of these things. So I love that you share that.
I thank you. I totally agree. And it's funny because last week our focus was on the DNA strand of a unicorn is open-minded and
Mm,
strives for continuous development. So it all
mhm.
kind of ties together. So you're getting the DNA strands sprinkled in here. So
I
there
love
are a
that.
lot. I'll try to hit on them as they pop up.
I
Um,
love that. Yeah. And so I think, that's one of the things of really feeling and being passionate about what it is that you're doing it really is just a part of who you are. You know, whether it's a DNA method or formula for something you're doing, it's still a part of your core values.
100%. Yeah,
Mhm. Now, so
definitely.
share with us what is on the horizon for you. You know, it's the end of the year, we're approaching the holidays. What are some things that you're working on towards the end of the year?
Yeah, so we're really focused on our community, which is, our whole mission is to foster a community of unicorns creating joy. And so we've established partnerships to help compensate people in our community. And now we've been
Mhm.
building the community of members to do exactly that, to collaborate and make connections and create more joy in each other's lives. So as far as on the horizon is concerned, it's more of like in the now, we are building that community up. So it's the focus is on golden connections, is what we call them. And
Mhm.
then the people that are a part of our community, they get invited to various different events. We do mastermind type of events to kind of identify the best possible golden connection for what somebody's looking for. And so with that, we've got an event that we're doing in November, which is called the $1 Million Main Goal Polo event that we're collaborating with them to add some extra unicorn magic to it. And
Mhm.
um, and yeah, and so that's all part of our community. And so really the focus being just making more connections with more people that want to be a part of the community of unicorn.
I love that. So, what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
To get a hold of me personally would be through LinkedIn, Daniel Knight on LinkedIn, or to get involved with the Unicorn Universe would be through our website, which is unicornuniverse.io.
All right. And so, what final thoughts would you like to leave with everybody today?
I really like the focus that we've been focused on of abundance. And really, my final thoughts would be to just think abundantly as much as possible. And that comes from not thinking in a scarcity type of way, kind of
Mhm.
more than anything. Give, give value, give support, give a helping hand, whatever it is. But the more you give, the happier you'll be. And I think that that's important.
Love that. Well, we just thank you so much for joining us today, Daniel. And we want to thank you guys for watching. If anything in this interview stood out to you, put it in the comments. Reach out to Daniel. As you can see, he is very, very insightful. The conversation is great. So reach out and have that conversation. A lot of the growth and development comes from just talking about different topics with another person, and you just always get new perspectives. So it helps you to grow and to impact the world in a better way. So thanks again, Daniel, for joining us. And please share this video. If there's some nuggets or insights that you really enjoyed, it doesn't cost a thing to share it. So we appreciate you all for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.
So I love the way that you've talked to us about these connections, but can you give us an example of something that's a unicorn connection?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually talk about golden connection in
Mhm.
business. And what that is really just a connection that can generate so much more for whatever it is that you're working on. And a unicorn connection to, tie in what you're asking, when you think of abundance and giving comes from how can you give value to whoever it is that golden connection. And this is something that you can do to provide value to them that they're actually going to want to collaborate with you. and
Mhm.
and then that's where you have the success from actually being a golden connection, is that you're able to receive the value from whoever it is that's looking to make that connection, and that it becomes a mutual win. It's a win-win for everybody. A lot of the times it becomes a win times five. There are examples of that happening, and that's where a golden connection really takes off. And it all comes back to the abundance mindset. How can I give value to somebody else who I think would be a golden connection so that they actually engage with me? Because otherwise, they're not going to see the value. And if you're just saying, hey, you're my golden connection, they might get all excited and try to take, right? And
Mm.
so you want to give first, you want to provide value first, you want to show how this can be a mutually beneficial relationship to make that golden connection a success.
I love that.